Mr. Chairman, Mr. Acting Commissioner, let me ask you the same line of questioning in a different way. In a sense, what you're suggesting is that accountability is going to happen, but there is a process to it that requires some time and investigation.
That's exactly right. We have to do this fairly and thoroughly, but I, like everyone else, I'm frustrated too. I want these facts to emerge quickly.
It's a complicated process and a complicated Byzantine process that took place to get us here, correct?
It's a complicated process, yes.
And inasmuch as the anger exists and the anger is justified, without knowing exactly what took place, it's hard to find people accountable in the correct way. If you don't know exactly what happened and who ordered what and who did what, it's hard to immediately find people accountable. If the word fire and so forth and prosecute and investigate is there, it's just going to take a little bit of time, correct?
It's exactly right. We have to get the facts in a fair and thorough way.
Listen, the chairman began this hearing talking about scandals and people being embarrassed and how far this is. You know, it's hard to shock and awe someone who's from Chicago, Illinois about scandals. My last two previous governors either went to jail or in jail. Two of my last four predecessors sitting in my seat are in jail or went to jail. So I get it. But this is getting there, and clearly this makes. I'm often asked what the real cost of corruption is. Clearly, there's a loss of trust here. That loss of trust is probably the greatest thing because it makes it very difficult to lead when you don't have the public's trust. So, gentlemen, that's your task. Ms. George, let me just, in ours to follow up, let me just ask you this. And I know your agency is the one that brought out this stuff about collected and wasted. Is there some sense that it took too long to get this out and to catch the other scandal that's involved here? In the sense that if we didn't catch it before, how do we know we can prevent it again in the future?
That's a very good question, sir. We are the ones who have to respond to allegations. You can only be so proactive, especially in the context of the tax code that the law will allow. And unless someone brings to your attention an instance of malfeasance or what have you, there's very little that you can do, again, proactively to address it. So, for example, in this instance, members of Congress, as well as media reports, brought to our attention allegations that certain groups were being targeted by the IRS. In the instance of the report that we'll be releasing tomorrow on conferences, it was a whistleblower within the Internal Revenue Service who brought that matter to our attention. So you can only do so much in this type of a circumstance, sir.
Any comment, Mr. Werfel?
You know, I think it's incumbent upon organizations, in particular public sector organizations, to ensure that they have the right controls, management, leadership processes to surface.
You would agree it shouldn't take a whistleblower, right?
It should not. It should not.
Because someone should be reviewing these conferences on an ongoing basis to see if they're really appropriate.
Yeah, I think one of the lessons learned that's going to emerge out of this process is we need a much more sophisticated risk management and control structure within the IRS. That's clear based on what happened here and obviously some of the emerging issues coming out of Mr. George's office.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.